what we've really come to understand is it's the hand action that actually drives.
If you have good hands, you know what to do with your hands. So much works back into the body, and the golfer they're empowered when they know how to use their hands properly.
So welcome everyone to today's fantastic webinar. And if you want to know what the simple truths of the golf swing are, then there's no better people to discuss this than Martin, Chuck and Peter Croker. And welcome, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks, Chris. Nice to be here.
Yeah, it's great to be with you, Peter and Chris. How many is this now? We've done like 4 or 5 of these. I can't even remember.
Yeah, number 5.
Oh,
number 6.
Number 6.
It is number 6.
Yeah.
Cool.
And we're just arriving at the truth. Jeez, blimey.
Why are we wasting time, man? Let's get them going.
Simple truths. Yep. Okay.
All right. So let's have a look at truth number 1 here. So separating cause from effects in an orthodox golf swing is very important. And if we have a look at truth number 1, the hands are the source of motion in the golf swing. And if you want good coordination and less body strain, then good use of your hands and good educated hands are the key to success. So tell us about this, gentlemen.
Peter, go ahead, buddy.
Okay, well, let me have a look at this, Chris. What we're going to look at, obviously, that if the hands are the source of motion, what do we mean by that? Well, firstly, we mean that the hands are going to move the club. Obviously, you're not holding it with your arms or your body, so the hands are your direct link with the club, so they're going to control the club. So they're the source of motion to the golf club, no doubt. But also, the interesting thing is when you move the hands in a certain manner, the arms will do a reaction to that. So the hands are actually causing not just the club, but the arms. So if I move my hands handle first, I get a lot more, not just the hand and arms structure, but I also get the body pivot. So when I push with the hands, my body connects. So educated hands, knowing how to use them, will not only control the club, but ultimately controls the arms and the body, which in turn means you got a more chance of controlling the golf ball. So it's the hands are the source of motion.
Yeah, 100%. So I always like to kind of take the information, reflect back to how I apply it, how I use it in the golf school with my students. And we had a great guy in last week at the golf school, a young professional, I want to say 40 years old, and he was working hard on his game. And he was one of those fellas that, he wasn't a handle first guy. He was a bit of a, he was one of these guys who moved the club head first. And so when you do that, a lot of things happen where we separate the elbows. We don't have the correct structure going into the backswing. And then more importantly, since golf is a 2-target game, meaning that the golf ball has a target and the club head has a target, he wasn't able to have a clean line from the top of his backswing back to the golf ball. So once we introduced the fact of structured address and hands being the source of motion, handle first, club head last, he was able to take out all the common issues we see, the steepness in a golf swing, when elbows separate and then somebody has to respond late. But when people really, really understand structure, then elbows don't separate, club head starts to go, body responds, and there's a lot of success down on the ground when that happens.
Exactly. Yeah, no, it's fantastic. It's amazing how it applies not only just for the beginning golfer, but all the way to the top. And if you can get the educated hands, it really makes a huge difference to the results you're going to get with score-wise, because you're going to get much more control over the golf ball.
It's funny, Peter. Sometimes I'll come and put my foot right behind the club head. So there's my golf club head, and there's the ball. So I'm the student, and imagine I'll use this as an example. I've got this mat here, and the mat's light enough for me to flick it away with my hands, but my foot is not. So when I put my foot there and I put my 180 pounds of force there, and I'll say, okay, make a backswing, and they say, well, I can't because your foot's in the way. And then I'll say to them, see, that's the issue, because if the handle moves first, there's this push with both hands that gets the body going with structure. And what happens is when somebody moves the club head back properly, basically the club head just kind of pops over my foot. it's not a barrier to motion. It's a situation where the club pops over, structure looks beautiful, the body rotates, the arms are in a nice spot, and that starts them off in a great start to their swing.
Yeah, fantastic. We have a little drill in the our program called the sword and the stone drill.
Yep.
And we refer to King Arthur, how he got the sword out of the stone. He didn't pull it out, he pushed it out. And we use a broken a club shaft with no head on the end. We push it into the grass. And when we push it into the grass, it's kind of stuck there. So we could pull it out, but we got no structure. But if we push, it's quite interesting when I push on the handle, how quickly and how easily that the end of that stick comes out of the ground, and the club shaft just goes on that pure path. So you get a really good backswing, and it's kind of automatic. If you start right, your backswing goes into that what we call set at the top position quite easily. So,
adding to that is that sense of, if we move the club head first, we lose that whip, we lose that momentum. Handle first puts momentum in the club head, and that carries a swing into not only a structured top backswing position in most cases, but one that's got enough momentum in it. So, as I hit a shot here, I'm hitting a 6-iron. Let's see how I do. So that's a flusher. So that's 89 miles an hour. Numbers, path, and face are quite nice. Centered contact. So ball speed was 124, carry was 181. And that's a 52-year-old dude. So you can imagine a lot of people can have that kind of speed if they understand how to be, handle first, club head last, how to use the hands properly. Because if we can start the golf swing off nicely in this first truth, so many things tumble into place that are so beneficial. I love the sword and the stone drill, by the way. Yeah.
And, basically when the hands are the source of motion and you do use the correct start to your backswing, this particular device called the Orange Whip, one of the caddies, he was a caddy on the PGA Tour. He invented this, and this is probably one of the, besides your teaching aids that you've got over there, Martin, this is one of the used quite a lot by a lot of tour pros. It really emphasizes how you get the club head last, and it gives you a feeling of really whipping. Just like you hit that 6-iron, it's an effortless whipping action, and we get the right sequence to the backswing, and the sequence of the backswing means you got the sequence to the downswing. If you want your body coming down first, you don't try to do it. If you do the right start where the body goes back first a little at the very beginning, then it sets up that sequence, that chain of action. So you really get, it basically removes the need for a lot of timing. It becomes more just a reflex. It comes back square.
Before we move on to the second truth, what I would say is if anybody goes on YouTube and they look at a slow motion of Bryson DeChambeau right now swinging his driver, they'll notice in the early part of the swing, the handle moves considerably. The club head kind of stays put. So what's happening is, as his body, as he's got this push between his hands and the handle moves first, there's nice width in his backswing. Most of the people that struggle don't have that width. They take the club, they zip it back inside with their hands the wrong way, rather than pushing on each other and having this width. Because with this width, they have the ability to have so much more speed rather than cutting it off when they go club head first. So anyway, good stuff there. So I hope people take that seriously, because if they can get to that truth, they're in great shape right off the bat.
Super. Okay, we'll probably we've put a little bit on that emphasis, hand source of motion and getting the swing. Now, well, we talked a little bit about push, but we really
let's talk some more.
Yeah, look, the word push, a lot of people say it, and they feel, what you feel is not necessarily real, they say. So in the golf swing, when you swing at it, and I'll hit a softball here, so I won't go so far. But when I swing at this, and I swing at it with a little bit of effort, what I feel, over the fence. Okay. So,
sorry, neighbor.
So like it was a softball. But basically, when you get the push concept, which means I'm pushing in the backswing, the left hand is pushing that way. If I move this way, it's pulling. So I don't want to pull with the right hand and get that club head first. I want to feel the left hand pushes against the slight resisting right hand. And the combination of that left hand pushing against the right hand resistance causes that hip to turn. And it's that hip turn that then gives you the circular motion force that allows the swinging club head to do its natural hinging. So you're not trying to cock your wrists or anything. If you start with the push, then the swinging club head works on your side. And so that's pushing in the backswing. Now, the interesting thing is when you get the right direction of hit, when I go slowly, you just feel the weight of the club. But if I add speed while the club's going in its backward direction, I try to change the way that club pulls on the muscles in the back of my shoulder and left arm and down my left side. So as a player, you could quite easily be excused for saying that you can feel the pull in the swing. But what's before that is that it's the attempt to throw the club head and push that causes that effect of pull. So therefore, basically, the real deal is being able to control the push, whether it's in the start of your swing or the correct push in the right direction at the start of the downswing with your hands, that when you add speed, gives you all those power angles and gives you the effortless power through the bottom of the swing.
You know, to add along to that, Peter, the commonality, you were a fan of the golf machine, as would I. We as students of the game and coaches of the game, it was nicely described that a golf swing has a starting form, it has an impact it has impact, and it has a follow through. And in a follow through, we know that both arms tend to be nice and straight. A lot of students that come and see me never have a follow through, and follow through just is a place where at a joint, at a place in the golf swing, my trail arm is bent, my trail wrist is bent, but at a place in the golf swing, both arms are straight. And a lot of students never have that. They have a situation where both arms are bent, both wrists are bent. There's always some sort of elbow separation, and they never have that. So when you talk about the push, understanding how the hands work, we use one of my simple training aids. I know it's hard to see on camera, but it's basically just a badge reel with a thumb loop on it. Well, in this case, we don't loop it to the thumb. We basically kind of pin it between the lifeline of the trail hand and the thumb of the lead hand. And to do that, there's a gentle push hand to hand. So I'll say to people, hold that loop gently between thumb and palm, and during the backswing, don't let it go, because you could hear that zip back into the badge reel as it is close to my microphone. But to take that out, I know you can't really see it very well on camera at all, but it's in there. I'll have to make a lighter colored string next time. But the sensation is to keep that sense of pushing, allowing my body to turn with a nice width, and then allows us to kind of get to that magical place of both arms straight that most people can't get to. And if they start off slow, handle first, to both arms straight and hit a little shot out there, that's an impact and a motion that they're not accustomed to, because they're usually, in a situation where they're moving the club head with their hands, not handle first, and certainly not to both arms straight.
Yeah, talking about the golfing machine by Homer Kelly, one of our little interesting discoveries inside that book, while he goes into all the different things, and he says in one of the chapters, he said, for all short shots, you must push a lagging club head through impact. And that was our entrance point to the justification of the word push. But what we'd like to say, it's for all shots, not just short shots. For all shots, when you push the club head, down, the more I push, you won't see it until you slow motion it down. But the harder I try to get rid of the club head, in other words, pushing with my hands, if we slowed that down, what you'll actually see is you'll see a lot of angle like this, and it'll all happen at the bottom. and therefore the club head will lag if you push. So
completely,
lag is an effect of pushing correctly. So,
and I think a lot of people think that lag is something they try to create by pulling, and that's why we have more golfers that don't break 80 regularly and play a lot of golf and don't break 80. The sense of pushing is something you taught me years ago, and I'll have a student kind of stand like this, and then I'll walk around to their club head and push back at them. I think you showed me this years ago. And then I'll walk one way or the other, and I'll have them continue that push. And if they can continue the push, I won't crumple them. They won't break down. So there's always a sense of this, away from the midpoint of the body, structured arms in this push. And so if somebody can do that, and they can take this radius and tip it over and find that happy place where the sole of the club meets the ground and the ball, and we'll just start them slowly in something that, if it breaks down one way, that's certainly not a push. If it's too excessive this way, that's not a push. So that we'll just teach them how to push that radius, and a lot of beautiful things just start to develop. And they're always trying to pull. They always think that they have to pull for power rather than push. Push creates turn, push creates radius. And my great mentor, George Knudsen, said that radius was consistency. That was his belief. Trying to have centrifugal force and radius as the consistent piece, and then tying in nicely with what you teach. And what I understood and learned from you is that there's so much benefit from saying, okay, there's a push and moving that radius, there's a clean circle, and if we can find that radius, now we have a pretty good reliable way of collecting the ball off the ground and hitting pleasing shots.
Super. Yeah, no, that's great. And basically golf's a pushover, really.
Yeah. No, for sure.
That's if you want to just make it that simple. The simple truth is you push for power, you push for control, you push for consistency. So it's a case of just understanding educated hands and how to push correctly with these hands to generate control over the club, the arms, and the body. So what's next truth we got to look at there, Chris? Oh.
Okay, truth number 3. Golf is a 2-target game. And guys, if you're listening in here, you can please ask a question or two. We'll probably just keep it to 1 per person in the chat box. All you got to do is type it in the chat box. That'd be great. But truth number 3, golf is a 2-target game. What can you share about this magic truth, guys?
Well, I'd love Martin to go first up on this because he's...
Yeah, no, I mean, it adds, when you think about it, it's quite simple. Ultimately the club head has a target, which is the ball, and then the ball has a target, which is either the fairway, the flag, or whatever you want it to go at. And when you break things down to that simplicity, where does that have to go? That's going to go one place. And where does this club head have to go? That's our job. We impose our will on the grip via our hands to make that thing go where we want it to go. And when you start to understand some of these pushes and structure pieces that are really simple, not simple, I should say, organized elements that you can learn really nicely with Peter's program, you can start to have command over the club head. And if you have command over the club head, you start to have command over where the golf ball goes. So Peter, why don't you take it from there?
Right, yeah. It's so simple, yet so many people are confused when they want to transition between backswing and downswing. Because the importance of making the ball go to the flag or the middle of the fairway, a lot of us get caught up with trying to make the club head go down the same line. Now, because the golf swing is on this circular incline wheel, it's not like we'd play cricket. We're not down the wicket. I quite often get cricketers over this way where they're trying to play golf, and they really have a hard time when they try to play the cricket stroke. Once you give them more, it's more a tennis stroke on an incline. So let me get this racket up. So the golf swing, the 2-target game, the same as in tennis. If the racket's here, you don't try to go down the line. If you're going to hit it down the sideline, you don't want to come around this way. You want to keep going, and the body turn will help square the club face through the impact. But your downswing cannot go out here too soon. the discovery that we had was that there is a special alignment, and I've got the this extra stick here, the alignment rod going out the end. So when we get to the top of the backswing, what we need to train in is for the hands to uncock. Call it thumbs down uncocking. And if they work this way, not this way, and definitely not this way either, but if they work down in line with so the club shaft moves in line with that lead arm, when you add speed to that, I better be a little careful here. So when I go with speed and I throw in that direction, as I throw down and out, what happens is the body turn triggers in and brings us around and up. So while your attention and intention is to throw the club head down and out into the golf ball and compress it into the ground, as you do that, the natural release of the body in response to this hand action brings us around. So the follow through side is definitely around here, but it's triggered by the downswing being a two target game, making it go down and out towards the ball.
You can see here, I have one of my son's old hockey sticks here, and I like using these because with students, it's really easy for them to get their hands on. And I saw a question pop about the under over drill, which is a drill we use with one of my products called the Educator. And the Educator, it's a situation where we feel, at address to the person that asked the question, at address, the lead wrist is bent back a little bit. When you have a nice grip and you have mid-body hands and you take the address, when we go back to this point at the top of pushing, the lead wrist tends to flatten. Well, what that does is it takes where the educator is to that person that's the question, and while you create some angle between the shaft, in this case this hockey stick, and your lead arm, that presents an opportunity for that educator to get on the other side of the arms. So the educator, or understanding how to educate your hands, it's called the Educator for the same reason it's about educating your hands, and that address hand location and how we develop a structured backswing. We get into what we call an impact condition. Well, what we're talking about here is address developed into kind of impact, and then as we get the dynamics of the club head working away from us, now we're uncocking in the plane of the left arm, not going to the target, and certainly not laying down too much where the face opens up, but we're uncocking in the plane of the left arm. And when we do that, our body wants to respond and helps rotate and square onto the ball, and we've got some control over the face. All too often, people go to the top in search of swing length, pull down, and then they don't have any control over the face. And then the last milliseconds of response to the ball is some stand up in a Hail Mary, if you will, just an attempt to get the club on the ball. And that's why golf balls go all over the yard. They don't tend to go, generally where you want them to. So jumped in there based on that question I saw there, Chris.
Yeah, I've got a couple of other questions we might answer as well here.
Sure.
Okay, the first one here is, can you explain the process of pushing from the transition to impact, please, from Paul?
Yeah, I jump on that too. So I'll give an example. So that young professional guy, doctor, 40-year-old, came to the golf school, very fit, very fast, 110 miles an hour on TrackMan, hit down on the driver. He only flew the driver like 230 yards. He hit a lot of fat shots. He didn't flight his irons high enough. So I don't swing the driver that fast, but I hit it way farther than him. So I swing the driver 105, 107. He swings it faster than me. So here's the thing. What we did with him was we said, hey, we've got to get you away from all this pulling, away from all this, what we call handle dragging and pulling the handle, which was the feel of what he thought he saw. He sees in the magazines all this thing called lag, which looks like a pull. Once we showed him how to push, he still saw a tremendous amount of lag, but now the golf club got in a better spot for delivery. The ball went higher, and then he started hitting it farther than me, and he's not welcome back at any more of my golf schools. So he did amazingly well pretty quickly just by feeling uncocking in the plane of the lead arm. And he couldn't believe me because he thought, oh, I can't do that. That's casting. And I said, no, casting is impossible. I said, what you see as a cast is uncocking over. And then when it gets delivered, you have this angle between the lead arm that's crumpled up and this, added loft in your lead hand. But when you're uncocking the plane of the lead arm, rotation happens and you get a nice long look, what they call the line of compression with the lead arm and the club. And that's when you'll hit it your best based on your physicality. In this case, this guy was faster than me. He hit it farther than me once we organized him a little bit.
Fantastic. Now, I've got my bicycle flag here, which really highlights what is the cause of that lag, and it also highlights how the hands should transition from backswing to downswing. So if I may, I'll use this flag just to highlight what the lag is a product of. So when I go slowly, there's no lag. If I'm going on the same direction, I'm going A to B, throwing at the ball, okay? Now I'll just add a little speed. Just watch what happens to the flag end, just a little speed. Now I'll add a little bit more speed. And I'll go just a little bit faster. Now, if you slow motion that down, what you would see would be all this tremendous lag and bending and stressing in this bicycle flag. And it's basically the product of the correct hand action in the downswing throwing. If you throw it, what you said, Martin, if you throw it out over the top, invariably you get casting, you get throwaway. And oops, nearly broke one of my clubs. Okay, so, and I swung over the top. But as soon as I go out here, that I lose that ability to get that angle. The more I go out towards the camera, the more the late hit is loaded. And that's where you get someone like Sergio Garcia or Matthew Wolf. They really get it way inside and they bring it in and it squares up and gets structure through there, which brings everything down the target line. If I just show it from this angle, not going to hit anything much. So the direction of hit is the cause of the lag, providing you're using your hands correctly to uncock and push the club head down towards the ball with your hands. So,
so Peter, just so viewers know, like, how old are you, buddy?
Oh, blimey, I'm nearly, the truth is, like, I'm one under par. I'm one under 72.
Is that a par 72 or a par 70?
Par 72.
There you go. So for the viewers that don't know this, like, Peter's an amazing striker who still hits it out there pretty darn far. And when you watch those swings, you can see the organized manner with which he does it. And he does it because he is not a puller, meaning that he's not pulling the handle, which is an arm separator. And that's the last second, adjustment everybody has to make. And so, my business is a golf school every week. I get a group of people every week, lovely folks. They come to me, they're usually my age or older, 50 or older. And when we put these pieces in, give them some structure, teach them how to push, now they start realizing, oh, wait a second here. I've got a radius I can manage, not something that's all buckled up and bent and they can't get on the golf ball 2 times in a row. And the number one thing they want when they come see me, besides, obviously they want to hit it farther, but number one is consistency. And so to be consistent, we have to have a radius we can rely on. And to have a pushing feeling, imagine there's a pushing feeling. I can't put my fingertips any farther away from me at this point. So now, of course, there's going to be some bending and expanding of angles. But if you can have this radius work about you reliably, you can be a pretty decent golfer within your physicality. I always joke with people. I say, we talk about speed and I say, do you know what my record is for the 100-meter dash? And before anybody can answer, I say it's 80 meters. I've almost made it. Okay, so everybody thinks of that as a time thing. Oh, Martin, you ran it in 11 seconds, 12 seconds, 15 seconds. Everybody's different, but everybody can have a great radius. Everybody can have great structure. They can understand how, getting your hands on the club nicely and the response of these radius-based pushes helps your body get in the right place and frankly, be safe and not have back pain and be able to move and play golf 4 or 5 times a week in retirement and enjoy themselves and hit lots of great shots. Now, you know, I hate to go on a rant here, but the fact is a lot of people, you know, they don't know what to practice. They always say to me, hey, Martin, I don't know what to practice. And I'll say, okay, well, when you come to my school, we're going to give you a practice plan. Or if you don't come to my school, if you're from somewhere around the world and you want a plan, you know who's built a great plan? Peter. Peter has spent more darn time building a fantastic plan for you guys out there. Now, we got a lot of stuff to go over. We're not going to get to it all tonight, I'm afraid. I've got a family. We're busy. And this, frankly, we can't make these too long because people get a little too bored of them. But the fact is, if you are the guy that doesn't know what to do, or the gal that doesn't know what to do when they go to the range, or you're in lockdown and you need a plan, he's developed a fantastic one. Sorry for the rant, Peter, but I just wanted to put that out there.
Yeah, well, all I have to do is email us, and we'll put them in touch with a step-by-step, easy to follow practice plan and a path to better golf, as it were. So
perfect.
I'd like to share that transition with. I've got a handle here, and I've got a swing guide. Now, this product is really a good little reminder. I know you've got some too that are very similar to this. So if anyone wants to get in touch with Martin, he's got a product that works the same as this. And what I want to share with you is when you start back, the forward press, then the takeaway, there's no rolling of the club, it just goes away. And then as the swinging club hinges the wrist, what you get, the swinging club and the arms are designed to rotate. So this business of trying to keep the club face square, if you start to swing right, the swinging club will naturally rotate. Now, the transition, the golf swing is really not a backswing and a downswing. It's a continuous swing where you feel like there's a little loop to the transition. So when you go back, what starts the downswing is your attempt to make the thumbs go down. We call it releasing, thumbs down, uncocking. And there's this bending of the right wrist, the bending of the right arm. And at that transition, the thumbs go down, the left wrist flattens, and the right wrist stays bent. And it's this thumbs down and releasing action. You're actually releasing the left hand, and you're releasing the right arm. You're not releasing the right hand. So the correct educated hands will give you that transition and help you really get on the A to B line, so that when you come down, let's move that out the road, the transition won't have you this way. Your hand action causes the club to come in on the A to B, on the inside and down and out. And there the ball goes. Oh, luckily hit the fence. Okay. Okay, back to you, gentlemen.
Yeah, let's move on. What's the next truth, Chris, that we can talk about?
Okay, just got one more question from Paul. What are your thoughts on the squat in transition? Doesn't it hurt the body, or does it not?
The squat?
Yeah, the sitting.
Yeah, what are your thoughts on the squat in transition?
Well, you know, I would say that, you know, there are slow motion movements that sometimes I will have a student say, okay, let's keep structure, let's keep our sense of push. Now, what's the sense of, you know, this, I call it just kind of settling. I'm not a big fan of the word squat, because I think, you know, excessive things. I just think that this motion of movement has a sense of settling. But if a person, say, unfortunately, you only had one leg, I mean, would you really squat, or, you know, trail leg or lead leg? And I've seen some brilliant golfers play one-legged golf. And, you know, rather than get into the minutia of a question like that, so when a golfer asks that question, I always makes me think, okay, that's fine, but do they have nice hands at address? Do they keep a great radius? Can they develop a backswing first? Because if they can do those things and they have a sense of going A to B, and A to B, you know, is simply club head to the ball. You know, it's a down and out motion that isn't trying to go straight. It's a sense of, like he'd said, like the more that the, like Sergio, that down and out tends to look like it's going a little bit more out to right field. Matthew Wolf's a similar look, and yet both of them prefer to hit fades. If I take somebody back in their, before their question, then the squat and the ground force kind of stuff goes away, because if they're using their hands the right way, you know, a lot of that cleans up itself, rather than saying, oh, I need to use the ground, I need to squat, I need to do these things. It's a golf swing is 1 second long. Okay, so I'm going to hit a 6-iron. I'm going to hit it with intent. I have to fly at 175. I've got the pins 185 away, so I'm going to hit a shot, you know, pretty hard. Here I go. Watch really closely. Okay, so in that moment, right, I hit a pretty good shot, a little bit left. I had to fly at 175. It flew 179, so I was successful. I carried over the lake. If you think you have time to think about squatting, right, you've got a way better processor than me. And part of the problem is people try to be too slow. They can't be athletically responsive enough to play decent golf. What you just saw there, you might have saw, oh, Martin, you got a pretty nice looking swing. It's pretty peaceful to watch. Well, athletically, doesn't feel peaceful to me. There's a lot of intent. I'm hitting that thing hard. Okay, I'm getting organized. I'm moving the club with intent with my hands. My body responds pretty darn well most of the time, gratefully, right? So, you know, a long answer to this question, but you know, the sense of a squat, good luck having time with that thought. Because usually if you organize yourself prior to that thought, the squat happens for you.
Exactly. That's a good point there, Martin, that the squat idea, it's an effect really of a good swing, and you see it maybe, but in 1 second you haven't got time. But it's quite often the person that straightens their right leg in the backswing, they have to come down. But if you kind of load yourself in the backswing, kind of corkscrew yourself into the ground, that feeling of winding yourself up and loading into the ground is actually happening in the backswing. And the right knee must, in that case, stay flexed. And that gives you that spring load. So you haven't got time to do any extras if you wind it up properly. So it's what you said there. The backswing really takes care of a lot of that the feeling of loading into the ground.
Yeah, and I'm not saying that you don't see this. I'm not saying that you don't see this behavior. There's no question. You know, and I'll give you one more example of that great question. I had a student come to the golf school last week. I have a golf ball delivery system that sends golf balls. Once you move the paddle out of the way, and you can maybe find some on my YouTube, there's a paddle. Once you move the paddle, it's programmed to send a ball between your feet at a certain speed. I set that speed at something that I feel is equitable to them progressing toward being a way better ball striker, which means that their backswing speed has to be serious enough so that they can get back to the golf ball, which isn't quite a tour pro, but it's way faster than a club golfer. So as soon as if somebody's going really slow, they have no reason to be athletically grounded. If they're pushing handle first, club head last, they create this whip effect that athletically gets them to that position you're talking about, which is, you know, the Sam Snead knee separated look. And honestly, if you go to my Instagram right now, Instagram, Martin Chuck PGA, that's my Instagram, Martin Chuck PGA. Watch one of my latest posts. I think it's the current post. You'll see an amazing looking separation of knees, the squat you're talking about. And I didn't have to say a word to the fella about it, not one word. And you'll see exactly what you're talking about. This look that was the question, and it's a response. It's not an action.
It's a reaction, exactly. Very good, fantastic.
Okay,
So,
truth number 4.
Truth number 4. You know what the truth is? I think truth number 4 has got to be our last truth for the evening, actually, or the day for you guys. I'm afraid.
Well, we've pretty well covered.
Truths in golf. Let's look at truth number 4. Push and the direction of the push is the cause of the lag and the late hit into and through to the impact zone, Pete.
Yes, yeah. So the late hit. We've basically covered all this in just the previous things when we talked about educated hands and the concept of push. That if you're pushing in the right direction, when you do it slowly, the angles, that you lose the angles and you get kind of what we'd call a lob shot, which is a shot you do playing golf, but it's not for power. It's around the green normally. You swing it nice and slow, and that angle changes. I don't want to hit this way, I'll go over the fence. But when I go slow, I lose the angle. Now add a little speed, the need for speed. So just a little speed. And as long as I throw A to B, I will have the angle. If I throw over the top, definitely I get the breakdown. So I don't want to do that. It's all about educated hands, and the direction of the push really is the cause of the late hit. And so
Peter, before you move on, I want the viewers to watch this look right here. Okay, they'll see me kind of uncocking A to B. Nothing about this is over the top, and this doesn't look particularly fast. But the faster I do it, the more the weight at the end of the club resists me and creates all the stress against the hands. So, you know, if I hit a driver hard, you know, we'll see. My goal is to hit it 275 in the air, and I'm throwing the club head as absolutely hard as I can at the golf ball. We'll see how we do here. That was pretty good.
You've been practicing. That's all I
Not really. A little bit left. And a little bit slow, to be fair. I got it. So that carried 269. So I hit it in the lake. I didn't quite carry the lake. But the feel of that, the reality of what you're going to see is something that looks like this. And the problem with golf is what you see and what the better golfer is doing, that's the disconnect. And that's why you need a coach that can give you the truth. And that's why we're kind of going through these 4 truths in this episode before we, you know, carry on and get into the next one. But I would encourage you this, like, hopefully you've enjoyed the content and know that, you know, we're caring coaches and we want you to do really well. And we're blessed because we do really well, because enough people around the world come see us and take lessons. And if you want to get started today. And if you don't want to get started today, you can wait till the next episode next month. But the program's great. And for those of you on lockdown, get to it. You know, I'm a coach. I yell at people, okay? I have a lot of fun yelling at people. It's always in jest. But get the right information. You want something, do it. Take it. Do it right. Apply yourself. You're going to be massively satisfied if you just work the program a little bit. So anyway, I want you to get started today. That'd be my suggestion.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks, Martin. Of course, if they can't get on a plane and get to you, well, they can go online, click and get our Master Coaching Academy. And I'll just hand over to Chris because he knows a little bit more about what's needed there.
Yeah, I've just typed in the chat box there a link to Peter's coaching program, monthly coaching program, and I'll just share with you a little bit what's included in that. So basically get four 1-hour Coaches Drill Mastery live webinars per month, 8 times 30-minute live golf swing mechanics Q&A sessions per month, access to the complete Master Coaching Academy. So Peter has a great step-by-step system of how to, you know, create an effective golf game. Anyway, and quite a few other things there, but I've just put the link in the chat box for those that want to join. It's normally $197, including the first 4 weeks of the Coaches Drill Mastery program. But for a limited time, you can join up for $50 per month. And it is limited to a certain amount of people that we can handle there. Anyway, go ahead and give it a try. I would thoroughly recommend it. And if you're looking at doing something with Martin, you can go to tourstriker.com and you can see his golf schools there. You can see his training aids, and you can find some fantastic information on how to get better at Martin's website there as well. Here's a little bit about his teaching aids. He's got many great teaching aids. 3 of them are just one's the Tourist Striker Plane Mate, Tourist Striker Pitching Wedge, and Tourist Striker Smart Ball. And they're all fantastic teaching aids to improve your strike on the golf ball. And if you want to get in contact with them directly, you can. There are their details. We will be sending this video out to you as well, so you'll be able to get their details there. But anyway, there they are in lights. I'll just check, make sure we've got a couple of questions here. What does it cost to get a swing video review from you guys, Peter and Martin?
Martin, do you do swing reviews on a Zoom or?
I do not do live ones, no, because the reality. I mean, I teach live in person in Phoenix, and I'm plenty busy. So I do for any. I don't know how many people are watching, so I don't want to get that out there. But I will do online ones where if you send me videos, and you can learn about that at tourstriker.com. You just go to my website, and I will do a review of your swing. I download it. I do a voiceover, send it back to you, and then I'll give you a personal. Hey, this is what I think you ought to do and how I think you ought to practice. It's pretty economical. It's only $75, but don't tell anybody.
Well, yeah. Well, if people want to have one of those with me, mate, my price there is on the internet is $100 for an analysis lesson. Because of this situation, I will drop the price to keep it in line with you, just so that we're on the same price point. Okay.
Sounds good, buddy.
But I do know that with the golf coaches that we're connected with around the world, that the online Zoom analysis lessons of their own game and their coaching is really very effective, and it brings you up to speed. If the student's not happy, I'm sure with you too, you don't want to charge them unless they get unless they feel they got a good result. So basically, you can learn online from us, but ideally the best place is to go to a school with Martin, or if you're down in Australia, you can't fly in yet. We only take us. Unfortunately, we're out of bounds for the rest of the world, but anyone in Australia can have a lesson from us if they come down here to the Mornington Peninsula. It's much better hands-on if you can.
Well, all right, guys. Good fun. Super good fun.
Thanks very much, Martin. Thanks, Chris.
Yeah, Chris, thank you. Thank you.
Thanks, Pete. Thanks, Martin. Just one final question. Just asking where someone can get a lesson in the States with your method. Peter?
Well, definitely in Phoenix, Arizona. There's professionals. We've got Matt Flanagan up in San Francisco, San Jose area. He's fantastic. There's Tom Zadzinski down in he's just north of LA. He's up at what's the name of the town? It's just north of LA. Anyway, Tom Zadzinski. He's a great coach. Lee Dietrich's in Los Angeles. Bill Adams is in Alabama. Bill Adams is great. We've got Cindy Jones in Savannah that I know is currently, on the job with our program. They're actually on the internet. You'll find we have under coaches around the world. You'll be able to locate a coach, whether you're in America, Australia, or Southeast Asia, or Europe, or South Africa. So New Zealand. You can find it on the crokergolfsystem.com, or you can also go to our other website, keytogolf.com as well, which is a step-by-step program. Super.
We can purchase on the internet. I'll just put that in the chat box. Anyway, if you go to that website, you'll be able to find coaches from around the world. Have we missed anything? we've missed a few truths out here, but we might have to do another session on the additional truths. How's that sound?
Sounds great. Let's do it. We'll plan it for next month, and we'll look forward to seeing everybody online
in February. Okie dokie. Thanks, and a happy Australia Day for us in Australia coming up tomorrow.
Yeah. And sorry, we couldn't get to all the questions there. There's quite a few, but great questions. If you want to ask Peter or Martin a question, just send an email to those guys. So thanks very much, everyone, for listening in. I hope you got a lot out of it. And
cheers, everybody.
Thanks, Marty.
All right, guys.
Cheers.
Always great information, guys.
Thanks, Chris.
See you later, alligator.